Okay,
Howdy.
Mike, we're going to begin now, so
Okay.
can you hear everyone okay?
Let's do roll call. Well, I'll do roll call. Alderman Brian Johnson? Here. Matt Schuler?
Here.
Gary Donald? Here. Mike Morley? Mike?
Mike?
You're here. You're definitely here. Okay. Before we do the approval of the agenda, I want to make a recommendation that we add one thing right off the bat, and that's that we elect a chairman. I've been chairman for I don't know how many years, but I'm not really on this committee anymore. I'm just pinch hitting today so we have a quorum. So in the future, we need to get we need to have a new chairman, and whether or not we elect a vice chair, we'll see what the group says. But anyway, bottom line, I'd like to approve the agenda with the first thing being election of the chairman. Other than that, the agenda stands. Is there a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
Brian, second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second that we approve the agenda with the stipulation that the first thing we do is elect a chairman. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mike? Opposed? So
Somebody's breaking up. Is that you, Gary?
Okay, so what they asked was that they elect a chair and a vice chair. At this time, Gary is going to be removing or stepping down from the revolving loan committee, and also that Jim. Did you talk about Jim Bloomer being added?
Yeah, Jim Bloomer.
So Jim Bloomer
Jim knows
is added. He is unable to attend today, so Gary is
pinch hitter.
filling in for that. He's pitch hitting for us today. But we would like to entertain a motion or
Right.
for a chairman and a potential vice chair from the committee.
And I'm willing to make the first motion. I nominate Matt to be our chairman of the revolving loan committee. I can tell you that. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second that Matt would be the chair. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Matt, you're now the chair.
Got Matt as the chair.
Yeah.
There you go.
Is that all right with you?
Is that okay,
That works
Matt?
for me. I was gonna make a motion.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay,
So,
I thought you were talking to Mike.
I was, and I didn't hear his vote,
Okay.
and so I just wanted to make sure. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's a unanimous vote then.
yes. So you got it, buddy.
That item was not on the agenda, so we'll have to add that.
Should we, Mike, I think we should probably elect a vice chair as well. You agree? I wonder if we couldn't put the
Mike?
phone, is it possible to get the phone up
What's
here?
that?
I think we need to elect as well a vice chair,
Just in case Matt can't make it sometime.
in case someone can't make it. I don't know, I'm gonna do my very best here. How about out here?
That's a good.
So you'll put the volume all the way up.
I'll make another motion since I'm kind of in the motion mood here. I nominate Mike to be the vice chair. Mike, you hear that?
Okay.
Will you be the vice chair, Mike?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
I would second that
don't mind
motion.
sometimes when I'm into it and on my phone, but this doesn't happen that often.
No, it doesn't have that on.
I'm wondering if you could, yeah,
Okay,
if anybody
um,
wants to, yeah, want to figure out who else is.
Yeah, that's right.
And Mike, I'm going to second that motion on you.
Okay, Matt.
So all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. You guys, Slugger.
You want me to take over?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Well, let's then move into our next agenda item then, which is the approval of the minutes from the January 23rd, 2018.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, motion carries. The old-fashioned way here, just on paper. Okay, then, let's move into our next agenda item, which is to review the loan application for Historic West LLC, which involves Tarl Knight and Mark Mariucci. And I would suggest we just open the floor to get things started so that they can tell us about their plans for Historic West
Motion to
Theater.
suspend the rules.
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All right. Wendy, do you want to kick us off here?
I'll kick us off. So I've been working with the proprietors, Tarl Knight and Mark Mariucci. They have requested from the loan committee an amount of $87,000 for a property acquisition. The property is the Historic West Theater at 405 West Walnut Street in Green Bay. So the Historic West LLC plans to purchase the historic Green Bay Theater and Restaurant and rename it the Tarleton Theater and Restaurant, with the Tarleton Theater LLC leasing the property. The facility is located at the corner of Walnut and Broadway, amid the Broadway Historic District. The Tarleton Theater and Restaurant will be restored as an arts center with fine dining. With Historic West LLC will apply for the Registry of the Historic Building as a Historic Arts Deco Art Modern structure. The Tarleton Theater and Restaurant will present wholesome live art and music acts such as touring bands, comics, motion picture shows with family-friendly prices in the quaint theater. The restaurant will serve a menu of modern American flair items and will also be available to rent for businesses and for companies in the group. The staff recommendation is that the staff recommends granting the request for $87,000 CDBG revolving loan funds for the purchase of the Historic West Theater property at 405 West Walnut. We also have, and I did not mention this to Mike and the others, but we also have the Bank of Luxembourg, the other co-lender in this business acquisition, is here. And so I don't know if you want to just introduce yourself real quick.
Good morning, I'm Ken Rain, I'm from the Bank of Luxembourg. Sorry I'm late, the train held me up.
Okay, yeah.
That's okay.
Ditto.
Yes, I think with Brian.
Right behind you.
Okay, so thank you, gentlemen, all for joining us today
Yes.
and helping us with this. So we can, with that, if you want to talk to them, that was the information that I had to share with you. But all of his loan papers are here. We went through loan status between Bank of Luxembourg and us with this.
Right. Yeah, and if either of you or both, however you want to play this, we'd love to just tell us a little bit about, hey, what are your plans for the theater? I know it's been sitting, I'm going to say vacant now for, is it 5 years?
It's a couple years, yeah.
It's
I
a
don't know,
couple at
probably
least.
3 or 4 years, yeah.
And I know in my head, when it's 2, it usually means that at least 4.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
it's-
would love to hear your plans on
Yes.
what you're planning to do with the theater and just get a better understanding of the business first.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll run as a 6-day-a-week operation. Dinner from 5 o'clock to close every day. We want to stay open a little bit later on to catch some bar close
Okay.
customers. We'll have entertainment, live entertainment on Fridays and Saturdays, including bands and songwriters and different live musical acts. We'll have classic and independent art sort of film going on, art house film. And then we'll also have opportunity for open mics and a number of other programs that way. Serving top shelf, along with the liquor license that we're anticipating, beer and wine selections, as well as maybe an 11 or 12 piece menu that we've put together.
Well,
So that's the vision for the theater.
and my understanding that you're already starting to do some renovation?
Yep, renovations have begun in short, yeah.
Okay.
We're anticipating more as we're delving further into the building, but
Right.
a modest amount of renovation.
Okay, great.
Well, I think that, this is Mark talking. The outside of the theater is going to need some immediate work. Our plan is to paint it a more acceptable color. And we are still waiting for a bid from a sign company on restoring the marquee. Our hope is to fully restore the marquee the way it was originally, with chaser lights and, the metal lettering on the front, depending on the cost of how much that's going to entail. But we will try and bring it back to as close as how it used to look as we possibly can on the exterior. There's a little bit of work that has to be done on the inside, some water issues, and but the inside is already in very good shape, and we'll do a little bit of painting and fix what needs to be fixed. Our idea is to try and be a little on the higher end. We want to have the public think of this as an arts facility and not a bar, restaurant.
Good.
Although we want people to understand that we want them to come there to eat and have food, the focus is going to be the entertainment. And Tarl is also involved in a nonprofit, the Artery LLC, and we will be partnering with them quite a bit to try and bring in some avant-garde entertainment that I think without the help of nonprofit and fundraising, would not be economically possible. So we are going to try and expand the arts using the theater beyond what would be the normal type of entertainment Green Bay is used to seeing for live acts.
Okay.
Especially singer-songwriters, which means original music recorded by, written by the artists who are performing them, instead of cover bands wherever possible. And so we're really trying to raise the bar.
Right. Could you tell us a little bit about the background of the two of you? And as far as,
Sure.
what kind of experience you're bringing to the table?
Mark Mariucci owned and operated Zaz Video Bar from, where was it, 90?
1989
Okay.
until 2000, and then I took over Historic West Theater and ran it as an art house movie theater. And it had dancing on Friday and Saturday.
That was from 2000, was the purchase of the building, and the business was run from 2001 to 2005.
Okay, okay.
So Mark has that experience,
Yes,
as well
yes.
as with the business in that building and that property.
Okay.
Well versed with downtown and the sort of
Sure.
customer and clientele that we can expect to bring in.
Excellent.
And my experience is helping to run a number of music festivals since 2009. It was quite a bit younger than
Wendy,
Yes.
I'm not sure if Charles using a microphone, he cuts out. Mark,
Yeah, sure.
Mark, I heard, okay, but Carl, I didn't.
I'm coming to the phone, Mike.
Ah, there we go.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Maybe start over. with
okay.
that last part.
The experience that I'll be bringing to the table is in about 10 years of experience with running music and arts festivals, as well as my experience with a nonprofit group in Green Bay here, helping to book acts and running a business there. I'm the executive director of a nonprofit group which helps to book talent in the Green Bay area.
Give them a little bit of background about Sturgeon Bay and your involvement there.
Okay, well, my background specifically in Sturgeon Bay and in Appleton runs with my graduation at the Interlochen Arts Academy in Traverse City, Michigan, and then immediately moving to Sturgeon Bay on what was initially a 10-year deal to help to organize and run a number of music festivals in Door County, which include the Distillery Songfest and a number of similar events that happen in Sturgeon Bay and the surrounding areas, which includes hundreds of bands and arts vendors, and the creation and solicitation and sales of original recorded music that is written during the week and then sold. So my experience comes from booking and organizing musical acts and live performances, and helping to run all the sort of festivities that go on with that year round. And it's quite an enterprise that goes on with that operation all year, with the sales and promotion of all of the bands and the acts. One of the co-workers of mine, Corey Chisel, ended up running the Mile Music with the Williams Group, with Dave Williams in operation in Appleton. And so I helped with that initially for the first year. And now we've begun trying to orchestrate a music festival with similar venues here in Green Bay. So that's my experience there. Pat McDonald is the creator of this music festival series, who's a very popular musician from the 80s and an acclaimed singer-songwriter.
So I would like to say that I have the experience running restaurant bar.
Yep. Yep.
I was involved in that industry for the majority of my life. I currently am not in that industry, but I can do that in my sleep. What I cannot bring to the table is the ability to fill that theater with outstanding musical acts, and that is where Tarl Knight comes in. His involvement in the past has afforded him a roster of artists that are nationwide, and it is just amazing the opportunity that we'll be able to have that will be unique to Green Bay, and then, of course, unique to the theater, which is part of the reason we very strongly believe this is going to go over extremely well. Initially, I think we will have to build a loyal following of people that will, when they think of the Tarleton, they will think of live music, set apart, maybe a little bit more in the line of the Meyer Theater or the Widener if you want, but at price points that are far more family friendly, and they will not think of it in the same terms of local taverns that have free entertainment. And once that pattern is established, it'll just continue to grow.
Yes, I believe it.
And so, just a little bit, I'm just trying to make sure I understand like how a night would work at the theater. So do you come in and dine first and then the act starts, or does that all kind of play out at the same time? Am I sitting at a table, or how's the experience work once I walk in the theater?
So we'll open at 5 o'clock. That's our, that's our projected, opening time, and dinner will be available from open. We'll have our menu open, and the bar will be open. Well, there are a number of bars in the location, but shows will start anytime in between 7 and 8 o'clock.
Okay.
And then we can have a second run of show afterward.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if we're having, let's say, a film showing, it can happen later on, or we can have a smaller act setting up for a larger band later on at night, or maybe even a DJ or something more interactive.
Okay.
And it is table seating. Currently, we'll be able to seat 150 people at table.
That was the question.
And it has, it's portable, so much of the room can be reconfigured if we wanted to have more people. We can use chairs, depending on the type of entertainment that's involved.
For those who don't want to dine in the entertainment area, we'll have another space available near the front off of the front lobby.
Okay.
That'll be available for dining.
Okay.
And we do anticipate using the lobby as some art gallery space, because it's not just going to be music that we're promoting. The visual arts as well, which could include painting, photography, and physical art, sculpture, that kind of thing. So there's private space in the front area that we'll be able to dedicate some of that for that.
Okay.
I was pleasantly surprised to see that you lowered the requested amount from 140 to 87, which is nice. I mean, so what brought that on? I mean,
We're currently going to hold off on asking to repave the grass area of what used to be, I believe it was West Liquor Store, and there were apartments that had burned down.
okay.
So that's a grass area, and I believe we had gotten a quote for around $50,000 to be able to pave that.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
That property
That's
is-
where there's a reduction in the request.
Yes. Yes, Mike.
Where did you come up with your projection? Your
Uh,
revenue?
For the sales,
Just, I'm looking at monthly revenues, and we can throw August out because you're not even open yet, but
right.
your comparison, where did you come up with your revenue source? As far as the dollar amount?
Well, I used a spreadsheet and looked up costs, and we were comparing how much we can charge for food with other restaurants in the area based on the type of thing that we were going to offer. And I did the same thing with ticket sales, comparing to places such as the Lyric Room and how much they are charging for entertainment. There are some other places like the Distillery that also have ticketed shows. We plugged in the costs of taxes and all the other operating costs into this spreadsheet. And I spent quite a bit of time crunching those numbers, trying to find a very conservative estimate. And so I would say that the numbers that I put there are pretty conservative.
Well, you look at that $10 your ticket sales, you got at least 200 people a week, which on one hand doesn't sound like a lot, but on the other hand, what happens if you don't hit those numbers?
There will be some shows that will be a higher ticket price and some shows that will be a lower ticket price, so that's an average number. And we are encouraged that the Lyric Room and Gather and a few other venues in town regularly have a ticketed show. There'll be some.
We also are well acquainted with a number of other business owners in the Broadway area where we checked in, especially bars and other entertainment venues. We wanted to make sure that we were comparing numbers with those in the Broadway district, although we did look out to a number of competitors in De Pere as well and in Appleton. And so we've configured a lot of the revenue estimates through our connections in our own district as well.
Mark, Mark, you show that you were at the West Theater from 01 to, or 2001 to 5.
Yes.
What was that under, who was the ownership of that? And there was a situation with, at one time with regards to having a liquor license, where it was a challenge because the city required a percentage of food sales versus our sales. Is that going to be the case now?
Yeah, okay. First of all, yes, we will still need to be considered a restaurant, and the sales from tickets and food and soft drinks will need to exceed those of alcohol sales. And previously, when I owned it, we needed to, there was a difference in the law at the time, and I had to rent a hallway, so we had a door that was on Broadway. And the restaurant, the license I gave up was a liquor license. I took over a restaurant license, so we were required. Somebody had tried to create some trouble with me getting the liquor license initially and sent a letter around to the neighborhood, creating some drama, which had to be addressed. And the results of that was the city was a little nervous, and so originally I signed an agreement that stated that I would not open my doors on any day that I did not have either a movie or live entertainment on my stage. And I was only allowed to have dancing initially on Friday and Saturday night. And within a year, most of those restrictions were lifted, but I never asked to change the the restriction that I had offered, because I had felt that it was a live entertainment venue and a movie house. And we were trying to bring something that was not too unlike what we're trying to do now, but unfortunately, I think it was an earlier time when Green Bay was still in decline in the downtown. And it was economically a struggle for the movie industry, especially. Mm-hmm. And that was primarily what we did. 7 days a week I was renting film, and we didn't have the audience numbers for it.
Right. Our downtown has changed a lot since then, absolutely.
And how will you go about trying to get the public to know what shows are on, and how do you create awareness and interest?
Oh, that is a very good thing. I would like you to talk about social media.
All right, so we'll be reaching out with a number of social media venues in order to advertise and market, as well as a number of networking opportunities. Well, right now we're in talks with a number of organizations downtown and in the Green Bay area in order to help and market and advertise what we've got going on. We're talking with local media and entertainment kingpin Frank Herman from Let Me Be Frank Productions, and friends and colleagues with a number of different businesses in the Broadway area. I hope that we can work closely with Brian Johnson, the executive director, and all of those at the On Broadway Incorporated, the Broadway District business organization.
I know that initially we'll be able to get some really great press in television and also in the Press Gazette. But the landscape for advertising is fundamentally changed today. I come from print, and my background is graphic design and photography. Yeah. And print is dead. And so while we might do a little bit with the Press Gazette and possibly some billboard advertising, social media, especially Facebook, is really going to drive the customers, creating event pages. We will be using state-of-the-art ID machines to capture the addresses of people, so that we'll be able to contact them through mail, and we will assemble a mail list. But more importantly, we'll use Facebook very heavily. And I'm involved in a couple of nonprofits. One just recently put on an event, and they only did Facebook advertising, and they doubled their attendance this year. So we can pay for pushes through Facebook, and we will spend some advertising dollars in that direction, but we'll be very smart with how we promote.
And not just Facebook, there's an entire network of social media that's available now, especially to younger audiences. Mm-hmm. And with the decline of papers and local print advertisers like The Scene and The Entertainer, both of which are not operating in the Green Bay area anymore, we'll hopefully be pushing our advertising and marketing almost solely through social media in order to track more properly the demographics who are coming through the area, and those who we should market and target.
What kind of food do you plan to serve?
I have another question. But probably Mark has this because he has experience in structurally the facility. You said he had water issues. Do we have an issue, outside as far as roof conditions and such that would show up as an unexpected expense?
I am happy to report that the roof, which had been a problem the entire time I owned it, has been replaced very recently. And I've been up there checking over it to make sure that it's in, well, we also had an inspector run through and they said the roof is in great shape.
Oh, okay. Who currently owns the property?
It,
It's bank owned.
yes.
It's owned by a holding company of Farmers Merchants Bank in Tomo, Wisconsin.
Oh, goodness. All right.
When you
Okay,
look at
Brian
the,
has a question.
when you look at the food, I mean, a substantial part of your revenue is coming from food. I see that you only plan to have one chef. So can you talk a little bit about the type of food that you're going to sell and how it's going to meet those revenue targets?
Okay, well, the menu is going to be kept fairly simple. It's not going to be a supper club. And it'll be a combination of things because I think we need to be able to, we can't just do tapas, smaller hors d'oeuvres and things like that, but we have to have a broad range. Many of the food items will be able to be pre-prepared so they can rapidly be available. I'll be able to help in the kitchen if I needed it, and we certainly could hire more people if we're lucky and the food sales become, to the point where almost everyone going there is eating. But by using a carefully crafted menu, we should be able to execute the food rapidly.
Okay.
We'll have some different specials that'll happen during the times of events, and we'll have a revolving menu. So in case things need to change, or at least seasonally, or what will be available during events and before and after events, can be applied as to the type of volume that we'll have during those live entertainment acts.
What kind of price point are you looking at for your food items?
They will range from something small, like a tapa that would be, let's say, $5 or $7 to $15 and $20.
Okay.
And again, we have compared ourselves. We looked at menus all around our area, and we want to keep it affordable, but we want people to have some options. So there'll be items that are almost $20, and there'll be stuff that people that don't have a lot of money to spend will be able to get, let's say, a side item.
Okay.
Well, we'll have one dedicated chef, at least that's what we put down in writing right now. There are a number of different models that are working with restaurants on the east side downtown that we're friends and colleagues with that have their servers also in the kitchen some amount of the time. So we could base whatever it is we're doing off of that model too.
Okay.
Clearly, food prep is going to be important in how we're doing the menu. So again, many of the items are pre-prepared so that there's just heating involved if it's a cooked item. So when somebody orders something, it's not necessarily from scratch. I worked in a restaurant for years, and that's pretty typical to have stuff pre-prepared so it's fast execution.
One question that I do have, and perhaps this might involve some staff feedback too. So the plan right now is to not repave the sort of the grass field that's on the corner there of Walnut and Chestnut?
Yeah, we're holding off.
Okay, and the reason I asked that question is I'd hate for you guys to go this far in the process, and Wendy, for them to not meet the parking requirements. Is that going to be an issue?
At this time, I don't think so. I know we're working on eliminating the minimal parking requirements as a staff, and so we're looking at downtown parking requirements as a whole, just as a city.
Mhm.
But I think they want to eventually get to that, but I think to get started,
I understand they
You
may
know,
eventually
and-
want to get to it, but the rule still exists. And so
Right.
my concern is we go through all this, they get their licenses and everything, and all of a sudden it's, they're in front of council and it's, you're not meeting the minimum parking requirements, we're not going to approve this. And so that's my fear, is that we get that far along in the process and it's something like that that ultimately halts it. So I'd
Did
really
they
like
have
to make sure
parking at
that's
all?
addressed.
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, Were you finished?
I was just saying, I'd really like to make sure that's addressed, because if that is going to require that that lot be paved right now for them to open their doors, you know, I don't want to find that out
Later on.
at the end of the process.
Have you been up to planning it all with?
No.
Nope, we just got to this part to see if you could get the property. Okay.
There are 36 parking stalls currently in the lot that is there. We have both parcels, the
Right,
grass
and
lot
so-
as well as the paved area.
But the 36 stalls are just in the paved area?
Yes.
And what are the parking requirements downtown, Wendy? Is it 5-to-1, 4-to-1?
I'd have to double check for you. I don't know.
Okay, and again, I'm offering up that advice just as a word of caution, because I don't want you to get that far and then, you know, and then be derailed because of
Yeah.
something like that.
Right.
If it was just an innocent oversight, so.
We talked to them a little bit and mentioned that we do have a couple of businesses that have multiple loans with us, so that they could come back and get another one, but you're right, to get the doors open, we need to have this item addressed, so great point.
Because I mean, I'll just speak from experience on the district, is that parking is a challenge right now. And there are some venues that are experiencing some
Yes.
awfully sore pain points because of it. And not just because it's inconvenient because I have to walk a block or two.
Right.
But because they're unable to meet these parking requirements.
Yeah. I certainly initially wanted to have that lot paved right away. And if necessary, I will be able to come up with the additional money if we needed to increase the loan so that we could take care of that. I think the down
Well, that
payment
to be
was,
the case, I'm confused on that. If you're able to come up with additional monies, stupid question, why are you here?
it was the 10% down payment.
I think Brian brings a good point as far as parking. As well as applying for the liquor license. The question I have with that is that wine, champagne, and beer, so you're not going to serve hard liquor.
We are. We are going for a complete liquor license.
Okay.
And I think they're already working with them, Tom.
Yes, yeah, the liquor license is already applied for. It's a full liquor license.
Yeah, and I get that there's a number of dominoes you guys are gonna have to knock, and sometimes you gotta sit in front of one body before you
Yeah.
can get in front of
It's
another.
kind of a chicken and the egg. right.
Exactly. So, so again, I just wanted to make sure that you're on top of that parking thing. And Wendy, perhaps, this is a conversation we could have with Director Grenier. And I don't know if this is something you guys would entertain, but a management agreement with Public Works in that lot, if it's something where you could have access to it in the evening, and maybe other district businesses could potentially have access to it, including in the day, in exchange for the city perhaps taking the upfront cost of paving it, if it were in fact to relieve a parking pain point for the balance of the district. And so I want to toss that out there as an idea that maybe a conversation with Director Grenier along those
Win-win,
lines might be
right.
worthwhile.
Yeah, that'd be a positive.
Because if you
we
guys
did that,
are,
would we continue to own the land?
yeah, I mean, you would essentially, you could enter into a management agreement with the city where the city manages the lot, and you could have access to it. I mean, the details of that would have to be worked out. And of course, the city would have to establish a need for those other things in the district. Based on my experience, I feel like that need exists, but I can't obviously speak for city staff. But it might serve as an opportunity to kill two birds with one stone.
It's certainly worth a dialogue.
Yes.
The other option here, Wendy, and I don't know if it works in that area, but is the whole facade grant program. When I think about what you're talking about doing on the front of the building and the marquee and the sign, is there's something we could also do with facade grant to help on the front of the building, which would
Absolutely.
relieve capital to do other parts of the project. And I'm assuming, Brian, from the Broadway district, you'd be very interested in making
Very
sure
much
we
so.
get a great renovation done on the front and the marquee. I think we're all interested in that, just trying to think about
Right.
other
Yeah.
ways
We
to.
do have other resources, and we have spoken about the facade grant. I think the big thing was to make sure that they could even own the parcel first.
Yep.
And then start to put some of these pieces together, but absolutely, that is a complementary funding source that would actually be in we've brought in other staff that manage that program
Okay.
to talk about that. So
Great.
that is in the queue as well.
And On Broadway has a small one.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
I'm.
mean, up to
I'm on the
2,500, but
design
again,
committee,
it's, yeah. So it's, as you know then, Mark, it's just getting that material in before the work begins.
Right.
So, okay.
And we can all help with that. So. Would you like to speak to about the bank involvement? Are we ready for that, or?
Sure.
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, well, good morning again. This is Ken from Bank of Luxembourg. There's been some changes since the last time we spoke as far as numbers here, so I'd have to recalculate a few things. I wasn't aware of that. So we had planned on putting in, we had approval for $220,000 in the project, and I think that included $140 from revolving loan fund. That's dropped down, I think, because of the 10% issue, I believe. So I think that's addressing that parking lot issue. That was in the original presentation that we had. So that's news to me this morning, but that's fine. I think we can work around that.
I thought we discussed that. That's where I got the numbers
I
from.
did not. Oh, well, we did. Maybe we did, I don't.
I made
recollect.
notes from a conversation of that was where we were at, but that's okay. Because, let me just grab the.
Not that that changes our
Commitment.
commitment to the project in downtown Green Bay. I'm not aware of the 87.
That's okay. When I was on the phone with you, I made notes that it was going to be reconfigured to these amounts, and I don't have the date, but it was earlier this month that we would talk about the change.
I don't recollect, but
Okay, that's
you
okay.
took great notes, I believe you.
That's okay. You have many things going on. and
No,
I
that's
wanna be
okay, no, and
complimentary
that
to
doesn't
what you
really
have.
change what I'm doing.
Yeah, that we revised it.
Okay.
And we talked about maybe holding off on the parking lot as part of the business plan on that
Okay.
dialogue because of the 10% makeup. But
Sure.
that's okay. I
Sure.
just want to make sure that, see if anything jogs your memory on that, but, okay.
It's not jogging right now, but I will say that still works for the Bank of Luxembourg. We want to be involved in downtown Green Bay. We got a couple other projects we're working on, so, and we are aware of the parking issue. We ran into that. Another project I'm working on down here, so.
Okay.
I was told some of that can be wavered. I'm hoping that can happen, so I'd be interested to see where that conversation goes as far as the parking.
I
So
just
the
have,
bank is still in for 220.
I need to relook at that. I would say yes, but I'd like to relook at those numbers before I could totally commit.
and then,
I have another question.
go ahead, Mike.
For Mark.
Yes.
Get back to the facilities again. Have you guys gone through the process with the health department as far as opening up and not having to make any major changes or upgrades to the kitchen?
We have not had an inspection done by the health department yet. I don't think we'll be able to do that until we have ownership.
Can I just ask quickly on that, do we have an extension on the purchase that happens while I'm assuming it did? For current-
Yes, it's been extended to August 31st.
Okay. Thank you.
We have communicated with the health department in order to come and have an inspection done, and we've been quoted based on the terms of our menu and the amount of space and the volume of customers that we'll be able to serve. But we haven't had an inspection done yet. But we've accrued the estimate for the costs and a number of times when we'll be available to meet as soon as we have ownership of the property.
I have, we've been in and have viewed the kitchen. It is largely the same as it was when it was last operating. Everything that was there is still there,
Including the dishes.
including some of the dishes.
Yeah.
And, you know, I believe that it has all the required things that the health department requires.
One last question. There's two LLCs set up, Historic West LLC and Tarleton Theater LLC. So I'd love to understand a little bit of what's the purpose of each one, and the loan would go to which LLC?
Okay. The Historic West LLC is going to purchase the building and then rent it to the Tarleton LLC, which will operate the business.
Got it.
And then do you want to make mention just of your ownership share?
It is 10% owned by Tarl, both LLCs, and 90% owned by myself. However, the Tarleton LLC will have a 50-50 vote. So the operating agreements are different.
And so the loan for this would be with Historic West?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions?
I do have one. And I'm not sure that I saw it on the letter, my financials, the alignment's a little weird here, but I saw the income statement, but when we talk about a balance sheet, and I just want to make sure that I've got the dots connected properly on this. So there is a down payment requirement. This revolving loan fund is to help meet that gap.
In part.
Okay, in part. So what type of, so assuming that, I assume personal investment is what will make up the balance of the gap then?
That's right, they have, there's a list of items that they'll be bringing, which is valued at about $33,000, and then,
I did not, where's that document? Let me see that.
let me bring that information up to you real quick.
Well, if we look at the application, it looks like personal investment of 33.
And then I double check that they have money in their accounts, right? So that too.
Because that's ultimately where I'm
Right
going
here.
with it, is what type of capital exists to
Right, so we confirm that.
operate.
And then there's a list of items. Maybe it's
In that 87 requested, it appears as though some of that is working capital, is that correct?
We are in property acquisition portion of it only. The working capital or whatever other items that they have are either coming through Bank of Luxembourg or personal means. There's a list, Brian, of items that they're bringing to the table, and it's, I apologize, I can't find it at this moment, but.
Go to sell.
Do you have it? Yeah, there it is. Here's just a list of items that he's, and then along with his personal assets.
Yeah. Oh, so this is what they're bringing to the table?
That
That's
is
what they're-
Okay.
50,000
that's
in
what
cash.
I looked at this and thought this is what they needed to buy yet. Okay, I misinterpreted the document.
That's what they are, those personal items that they're adding to the project.
Okay,
So it does ask that we have, right, so that 10% can be made up of items that they're contributing to the project along with personal assets.
no, this is,
That's the gap
a
that
double
was
swing
missing.
for me.
Okay.
Okay. Well, one quick comment, you mentioned the 50% equal voting rights. Being on the RDA, we went through a lot of movement with Hotel Northland. And part of the problem was the two partners had 50-50 voting rights. I'm just saying to you, you may want to consider that to be 51-49. Think about it. I'm just saying, we really went through a lot of gyrations that nothing could get done with Hotel Northland because the two partners just, had equal voting rights. Just a word of caution, that's all.
And I would echo that. I've seen a lot of business deals and
I missed all of that.
that's,
They're saying of other businesses had 50-50 voting rights, and it has put things in gridlock. And so to potential look at restructuring maybe some of that, just kind of reviewing that as
Just
far
as
as
a-
keeping business operations in operation.
Right, just a thought.
Just a thought after some of the other previous.
Okay.
Mike, do you have any other questions?
Cutting out, Wendy.
I'll come closer. Mike, do you have any other questions?
No, just a number of concerns, but we'll work through this.
Would you like to go into closed session to talk about those?
I wouldn't mind if it's up to the rest of the group.
No.
Well, first, I would suggest then we just go back to regular order of business. We close the open session.
Can I just make one last comment? So so you and I can get together and go over the numbers, right? Because mine don't jive to what we have going on here. So I want to make sure that we, as far as the working capital piece of it, I wasn't aware that we were doing that. So.
I don't know, that was just a question that they were asking
Yeah.
about working capital.
Okay.
I just know that our portion is property, and so I can't
And that's
even
what
answer.
ours was as well.
Okay,
It's going
yeah.
in, so we gotta make sure
So
that his
are
portion.
your working capital, how are you handling working capital, gentlemen?
I think that'd be the cash that they're bringing in, I believe. But the 87 from the revolving fund covers our collateral piece, so I'm fine there. But I know there's some additional funds over the 290 that they were using for operations and for some other things. I don't have that in front of me, but, so, Mark, that's something we can look at one off, I guess, and see your
Okay.
funds would be used strictly for working capital. If that
Okay.
works for
So the building is priced at what amount?
290?
290. We're at 87, and you're at 220.
Well, we had 220 on the original 390.
Okay.
And then you guys are putting in 140, so again, I'm going back to my memory not jogged, I still have to refigure my numbers. I mean, we're into this, there's no question. Just I want to make sure, as the board mentioned, that they don't open the doors and have no money available for working capital.
Right.
So they're going to need that for the first, I would think, 90 days. So, again, we're into the building. I have nothing, set aside for working capital.
And we didn't need it. So,
Is the bank also going after all of the equipment as a
this is their.
Secured.
We are not. We are not. So we are just strictly on the building right now. We can
Okay.
look at some other options if that's needed. So, yeah, I just.
So these are just the numbers, that's okay,
Yeah,
we'll have
yeah.
to double check.
That's fine.
Okay, that's no problem, I
That's
just want
fine.
to show you where we're going. Yep, we're both tied into the equity of the building, and right after we find out where this committee feels with this
Sure.
loan, then the appraisal will be ordered. We didn't want to put a lot of expenses into
Right, I did not.
other
I
things
wanted to wait,
without
you bet.
having a chance to look at things, so. But that's the price, and then we'll be able to back that up with what room there is for that.
You bet.
Working capital is critical. So many businesses, it takes longer to get rolling than they think, and they run out of working capital, so we have to make sure it's covered. somewhere along
That's
the-
got to be right for us as well.
Marcus is well continuing to work in his other position for a while.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yes.
okay. All right, that helps.
I suggest we return to
Yes,
regular order of business.
motion to go back to regular order.
Second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I would suggest then that why don't we go into close session here? And could somebody make that motion?
I'll make
Read it,
the-
Pat.
Yeah, you gotta read the language on the bottom.
Yes, I can read it. The committee may convene in closed session pursuant to sections 19.851F Wisconsin statute to consider financial, medical, social, or personal histories of specific persons which, if discussed in public, could likely have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of the person referred to as such histories or data. The committee may thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to section 19.852 Wisconsin statute, report the results of closed session and consider the balanced agenda. All right. A motion to go into closed session.
I'll second that. All those in favor say
Then we have to read.
And then Matt, Mr. Chair, you're gonna read that motion, we can take a vote on that, and then we might have to leave you.
Yeah, Gary's gonna read the motion, then Mike.
Very good, thank you.
We need to leave at what time?
Well,
Oh,
for sure, probably 5:02, so I should. All right.
Do we need a roll call here?
Yes, we do, actually.
Okay. We're going to open back up into regular session here, and we have to start first with roll call. So Gary Delvo,
Here.
Brian Johnson.
Here.
Mike Borley,
here,
and Matt Schuler is here as well. Let's convene back into regular session, and Gary's going to open us up here with a motion.
Yeah, first of all, we really think the project's exciting. It's going to be a big boost for Round Broadway, no question about it. There's just some additional information and things that we'd like to see covered. And then, heck, you can come back to look with us with the information within a week or whatever, and we will look at it again. 'Cause we do want to make the loan. Make sure you understand that. But we're concerned about the parking. We really gotta, I mean, there's a number of things. I actually start with working capital. Because we see business all the time, don't have enough working capital, and after a couple of months, because it takes longer than we think, so you gotta come back and show us how you're gonna do the working capital. You know, how you're gonna survive for 3 months or whatever it's gonna take. Parking is a concern. There's a stretch on parking on Broadway, so we're gonna have to work with Public Works and make sure that we can address the parking problem. Right, Brian?
Mhm.
Okay. Somehow, the health department, if you can get somebody in there, just to give you an idea that there aren't any big surprises here that, you know, I would think the health department, even though you don't own the building yet, I would think they'd help you make sure that there aren't some big surprises that you're not aware of.
Okay.
And bank confirmation, I mean, I think too, you guys can make sure that we're solid with the whole banking.
Yes, we will take care of that.
Okay, so those are the things that we're concerned about, and that's the motion I'm gonna make, that if you can address these 4 concerns, that, because we're excited about the project. I can't emphasize that enough, what a big boost it's gonna be for on Broadway. And we're very excited about the project. We just want to make sure that you're covered before you get into it, you know, so it's more of those concerns than it is anything else. So that's the motion I'm making, that those 4 things need to be worked out a little bit. And I think that you could come back to us week, 2 weeks at the most, you know, with that information, because we just don't want you to fail. To be absolutely truthful with you. That's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Mike, you okay with that?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
We'd love to see you back here soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mike. I'm gonna sign off.
Thank you.
I know. Well, so what we'll do is we'll get together, probably the 4 of us, and let's get busy about the parking. We can actually
Want to
go up
adjourn?
there now, or whenever you want to.
We have to
And
approve this.
let's address whatever concerns anybody has,
Did
which
we
is
lose
probably
Mike?
need to be addressed
Foreman
at one point in time anyways.
Mike actually is not
Yeah.
counting.
So,
Because-
and you're welcome to join us if you want to hear what
There's
parking
3 of
has to
us
say.
as well
So,
now.
All right.
I didn't
thank
realize
you.
that.
Are you
Thank
doing
you.
anything else?
Thank you. We'll
Thank
do it.
you.
Oh, we need to
We're
move to
excited.
adjourn.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
We didn't know if we needed to get through, there's 2 other items
Oh,
on
you're
the
right.
agenda, Wendy.
Okay, I'm so sorry, and I signed Mike off, but this is informational, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So the item is the RRLF loan status for open accounts. As you can see, I have everybody current except for one is in default. Cinebiz has actually closed their doors and the bank has taken the property back. And so, are we still recording? So the Cinebiz has sold their business, the business part of it, to Elevate 97.
Sure.
And I understand that he is working there, so I'm working with our attorneys to figure out what our next steps are.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the person before me did not file a lien on the property, so when Nicolay took it back, we're kind of out of the picture. We had financed some
Equipment, right?
some equipment there,
Right.
right, and so, and that was sunk things into the building. It was security and some, anyways, some HVAC things and whatever was part of it. But, you know, we started out at 115 and we're out 33, and our legal department will be taking that. Glass Nickel Pizza paid off, they're paid off, and then everybody else is current. So, and if you see our available funds at the end, if I want to ask for additional funds in October, I need to get those in circulation, so I'm working with that. So,
That's good. That's a good thing.
So our reports, we have 16 or 15 active loans and a couple in the hopper. That's pretty much, or a couple in the works, I should say. That's
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Good job, man.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. I hope we can get these addressed, because that could be very exciting, especially.
I agree. And
The biggest one's the working capital, I'm
All right,
concerned
so I'm gonna
about
bring
that.
up the parking.
coincidentally, I'm
With
supposed to be
that,
meeting
if you
with
have anything else,
Charles
I'll
this
see you
afternoon, so.
probably
Okay.
so I'll-